Well, hi everybody, and welcome to the Public Practice Accountants Club, a space for leaders and emerging leaders in the accounting space to come together and connect over the unique challenges and opportunities faced by our industry. So we'll be at the forefront of transformation in the industry, make valuable connections, and hear some great conversations. And of course, the bonus is that you get to earn CPD points for tuning in. Extra special. So our topic this morning is where have our young accountants gone and how to get them back. Very interesting. I'm sure we're probably going to say a whole lot of controversial things this morning. But first, I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Linda Steffens. I am the accountant coach, author and speaker, and I particularly love to chat about things all business of accounting, business advisory services, and leadership's another favourite topic of mine. So, of course, my amazing co-host is joining me this morning, Kylie Baxter. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Linda, and good morning to everyone listening and watching us. Wow, self-introduction. It's hard to do these things when you're exhausted because it's May, right? But yes, I am Kylie Baxter. I own an accounting firm here on the sunny Gold Coast and have worked in the industry for, coming up to 25 years. So like Linda, I really love helping and talking to other practitioners and just, brainstorming how to get through this thing we call the business of accounting.
That's exactly right. And look, that's exactly why we're turning up here every month, isn't it, Kylie? Because we do just want to be able to give back. We, have certainly had our own challenges and issues over the years of being in public practice for ourselves. And so whatever we can to give back, we will do that. So that's why we hang out here and very glad that people are joining us and listening in too. So I hope you're getting some good value. We'd love your feedback around that too, because that always helps us, determine what we'll talk about, our topics and all other things. But let's talk about our topic this morning. So where did our young accountants go and how to get them back? So it's no secret that we're experiencing a talent squeeze in the accounting industry. Absolutely none. And by the way, that is global. That is not something that is regional. That's not something that is metropolitan, not something Australia-wide. It is global. We're putting out job ads for graduates. Sometimes they're met with crickets or other job ads. Definitely we're not hearing or seeing the applications that we were used to. So where have they all gone? So do the next generation really perceive us as boring number crunchers who sit behind a desk all day? Perhaps they do. So how can we collectively as an industry, which I think is the important word, collectively, improve our image problem? If there is one, we'll investigate that. And what do we need to do to attract these Gen Zs who live and breathe all things digital and are truly socially connected? How do we get them attracted to the profession? So as accounting leaders, can we transform the image of accountants and begin to show the next generation what the real accountant is all about? So definitely talent squeeze. It's tough out there in the market. I hear this every day from all of the accountants that I'm talking to and working with, and it's all over social media. So we're seeing it. It's really tough, Kylie, isn't it? When you're trying to find staff to just get your work done.
Absolutely. It's definitely impacting on people's workflow and capacity. But the comment that I want to make first is that when we're talking about young accountants, that terminology is just being used to cover any early career accountant.
Yes.
So if either Linda or myself do use that young accountants term, we're referring to anybody early in their career. And certainly that whole band of people has gone missing. Yes. I don't know where they are. Well, we sort of do, and we're going to unpack it today, right?
Absolutely.
But the on-flow effects that this problem is causing are quite great, and I think there's lots of things that have led to this, and we should probably start there. How has this happened?
Yes. Well, look, I think, and something to reflect on too is we won't have been the first industry or this, it's not like this has happened before. It has happened before is what I actually want to say, because, we're going through a phase where our talent is coming from a different generation than what our managers and perhaps leaders are, or our business owners are. So this clearly has happened before. And, you know, with each generational change, we see some of these challenges. I think it's been certainly heightened in the accounting industry because of the way we do go about our work, who we are, how we deal with clients, or what we're doing every day. I think that's exasperated the point, but it's not like this hasn't happened before. Something also to think about too is when we're thinking of young accountants or new career accountants, our clients are also changing as well. So the future of our clients are coming from a different generation perhaps than what we are maybe. So interesting fact as I was researching this, and I did a fair amount of research on millennials and Gen Zs and, you know, what are they all into, that Gen Zs will actually soon surpass millennials as the most populous generation on earth. So they are the people born 1997 to 2012. Now, you scoff there, Kylie. What was it about that 1997 they were born? That's when they start.
That's the year I finished high school. So that's the first thing. And then the end of that generation is my kids will just sneak into that.
There you go.
You know, like it's one of those things. I personally, you know, I'll speak from personal experience. Like I definitely take it upon myself to try and keep up with where these different generations are at and what's happening. And, you know, you only have to stumble into the TikTok realm, to realize that sometimes people will deliver this great monologue and I'll think to myself, I didn't understand some of the words that they said there. I'm pretty sure I get the gist of it, but I've made some assumptions that I'm going to need to go and check, which makes me feel like the oldest person on earth. But I suppose at least I'm trying to stay in touch there. But certainly I think the way that we've gotten to this point is because traditionally early career accountants have come from the younger generations. Now, that's always been not an issue in the past because accounting or being an accountant of any way, shape or size has been seen to be quite a well looked upon career, a great path for your future, you know, all of these really positive things.
Yes.
My personal opinion is that has significantly changed, particularly in the last 3 to 5 years, especially after that COVID boost and how involved all accountants were with their clients and their businesses in that space. But also, you know, we've got a lot of competition coming up from some competing industries. So, you know, you turn back the clock 20 years and the professions were quite distinguished in themselves. Whereas now you sort of think, right, I'll go to university, I'll do an accounting degree. It is an actual fact that many universities aren't offering straight accounting degrees. So there's not a business degree majoring in accounting. There's not a commerce degree majoring in accounting. There's a lot of dual degrees. There's some obviously accounting in there, but it's not specifically focused on the debits and credits, so to speak, which is great because it really opens people's eyes to a lot more opportunity. But that is one of the reasons that in public practice, we're having trouble attracting some early career accountants. Now, the other reason, speaking about universities, and I've got some statistics on this because I actually looked it up because this is one of my bugbears. It's excellent when I prepare, isn't it? But we've got this issue with international students, okay? So apparently in 2020, we had an increase in international students studying accounting from the year before in 2019.
Okay.
Now, there was something like nearly 30,000 of international students and about 25,500 of domestic students enrolled in accounting degrees. So it's like, well, that seems like a lot of people. That's great. Surely we can use one of them. The thing that we all know happened is we had a global pandemic and international students basically, you know, it was a struggle, right? If they were here, they were struggling from a financial point of view. If they weren't here, it was very difficult to get here. Now, while that is beginning to change again now, what we have seen is accounting has come off the list of, and I'm going to get this wrong because I didn't write it down, but it's come off the list of skills for visas.
Okay. Yes,
So
right.
that's going to be another issue, because we used to
Okay.
get skilled people in, which would come in at that early career level because they don't know Australian tax or the
Correct.
Australian way of
Yes.
working. But I think that was a little loophole a lot of people were using, because we'd get people from overseas countries come in, and they might have worked in banking or finance, but they've
Yes.
got a overseas degree, and they'd
Yes.
come in as an early career Australian accountant doing some bridging courses or whatever, and then go on
Yes.
to do their CPA or their CA. We just aren't seeing those people anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. So, look, we're seeing that employment issue around international skilled workers, play out throughout the whole economy. And it's interesting. I love those stats about university and, those students. So I didn't actually realize that. So that's really cool. So that's put an even extra pressure again, which is going to be another time lag for us, isn't it? It's going to be longer again if those students are only sort of coming back, that we're starting to see this pool of graduates come out, which we, have a chance to attract to our businesses.
That's right. And those stats include anyone studying at university. So we know that can be undergrad, postgrad, all of the, different spectrums. But like I said, we were getting people in early career accounting roles that had masters for accounting or masters for finance,
because they were emigrating and then doing that bridging, and then we were, entering the employment market. Yeah, wow. Okay. What I would like to go back to is this concept of there's almost no longer a straight accounting degree. And the reason sitting in behind that, and that's come from demand. So something in my research around our younger generations is they're looking for this multidisciplinary type experience when it comes into learning and skilling up and expertise and knowledge, because they don't see themselves in a job or a profession. They may stay there, but they don't see themselves for 5, 10, 20 years, which was probably a little bit different to the way we saw ourselves.
Yeah, look, I'm not against the way the degrees are being managed now. Like, I think that it's a really good opportunity to offer people that are studying, particularly in that undergrad situation, a really good taste of everything, and really give them a more better depth and breadth of training as well. Like, I've been a strong advocate for degrees that offer some in-house training or on-the-job training, similarly to, nurses and vets and dentists and teachers. I don't know how accounting is in that space, but I think it's because it really comes in that business regime where it's like, oh, it's not necessary. But I strongly believe that it is. I think that if that was to be introduced from a public practice point of view, we would certainly have a better way of communicating directly into the universities to show them that we're not all boring like the whatever
like
it is,
like
ITP, H&R block ad. Just pump the air when we get a tax return done. But really, what work goes on in our businesses. And I think, Brenda, that is where, you mentioned that reputation issue. I think that's where the problem lies, and it lies with us.
It absolutely lies with us. And, it's very easy. Something that I just wrote on my show notes was, that it's very easy to sit back and go, I'm a sole trader, I'm very busy, I'm doing my thing, someone else will look after this problem. Well, no, somebody else won't look after this problem. We all need to try and do just a little bit towards this. And what does that look like? So I think it's something that we definitely need to come together as an industry. We may not agree on what others are saying or doing, or even some of our accounting bodies are putting out there, or influences in the accounting market, whatever, there's a whole lot of noise, in the accounting industry if you actually look. But I think the thing is the one thing, if we can align on this topic, and, it's tough out there, then I think, we're a whole lot better positioned to come through this period. And we will come through it. It just, depends on how tough we want to do it. But I think that's important. If we think about those dual degrees, what people are looking for, I don't disagree how they're being handled either, Kylie. I think they're great. Because if we think about what we do in accounting and the work that we do in accounting, it is very multidisciplinary entirely. Yes, we probably start out having to learn our debits and credits and those sorts of things. But when it comes to dealing with business owners, you deal with the whole spectrum of life and business. And so multidisciplinary is great, or at least some awareness around those sorts of things. So what I think the issue is how do we then reflect that on a day-to-day basis back out to the wider community, isn't it really?
Yeah, look, I agree. And I think it's really interesting that you say, we need to take action, and who do we look to help us? Absolutely. We're in public practice. We look to our professional bodies, and CPA and CA, and also, the Institute and those sorts of people are very well aware of this issue. CPA have actually just launched this member ambassador program where basically they're training up some of their CPA members to send them directly into universities, and I think even high schools in time, to start getting people at that lower level. And that's so important. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know I've got kids, they have career days from like prep and grade 1, and kids are so impressionable, during their journey, even to like, what am I going to do? Should I go to uni? How should I do it? There's so many different pathways now in that 10, 11, 12 space that I do think we really need to be getting in there early. So my number one hot tip is it starts at home. Make sure that we tell our children, our nieces, our nephews, our next door neighbours actually what we do. As accountants, and we've all been there in social situations when people say, and what do you do? And you say, I'm an accountant, and then the room goes silent because you're like, oh,
crickets,
it's awkward. Right? And then you either prepare yourself for someone to ask you a tax question, or you think, segue, how am I going to change the topic? So I think the interesting thing about that is if we start talking to the younger generation, I'm talking the really young generation, or the impressionable people in our lives, we can actually start to change our confidence and the way we get used to talking about our careers, but also actually explaining to people what we do. Like, I have some super close friends that have been my friends for like more than half my life that I'm sure think that I sit at my desk all day and do tax returns, which could not be further from the truth, right? But I'm pretty sure that's what they think. And it's my bad because we don't really talk about ourselves. We don't really celebrate our success. We can't talk about our clients very easily because of privacy and obvious ethical rules. So how do we go about this? How do we share the news of what it's like to be in public practice?
So it comes back to, I think, and I know we've talked about this before, is really connecting with why we became accountants in the first place, and it's realizing that we actually make and are the conducers of a whole lot of impact out there that goes much further than even the client that we're talking to or that team member that we might mentor. It goes much further than that. It goes into their families, into their communities, out, through the nation. I mean, we are sitting here often helping the backbone of many countries, which is small business. So there's a huge impact that we're making. I don't think we realize that, or take it for granted maybe a little bit, because we are humble. We don't like to go shouting from the rooftops about what we do, but I think we can just spin it just a little bit. And like you said, I love that it needs to start at home. Absolutely does. This issue can just start with very small little changes in how we look at ourselves, look at what we do every day, take a positive spin on it, and then just start to talk about it amongst family and friends. It will just ripple out from there. And I think if we all just take the time to do just that one little bit, I think we'll soon see, the tide changing for us. So, but it is, how do we view ourselves? And it comes back to us. you know. And so it's maybe during your day trying to sit and reflect a little bit on, well, what did I do today? You know, what impact did I make? What, you know, when a client thanks you, and you know, often a client will thank you for one reason or another. Even sometimes you can give them a great awful tax bill and they'll still thank you if you've managed it the right way. So, you know, it's just looking at that and appreciating what we do, I think, and sharing that a little bit more, Kylie. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that sometimes a lot of it does start with us. We can think, why don't people want to come and work for us? Where have these early career accountants gone? What's happening here? But we need to realise that this is not going to be something that's fixed in 6, even 12 months.
No.
We've got to be in this for the long haul.
Yes.
So while it sounds so far removed to say, oh, start telling people actually what you do in your everyday job,
yes,
we have to change our image.
Yes.
I also think that if you are someone that loves to have a chat, and many of us accountants do, you know, I think sometimes we should listen more and speak less,
yes.
but you really need to learn how to tell your story. Like, there are so many amazing accountants that have the most fantastic stories.
Yes.
They might have come from a commercial side of things. They might have come from a completely different career path, or they might, like me, have just always been decided that they wanted to be an accountant and, you know, worked their way up from high school through university. Right. So there's some really, really great stories, and there are no traditional pathways. And I think that when we're talking about early career, and traditionally that is the younger generation, we really need to make sure that we're explaining to them that this is a valid option for them and a pathway that they should consider. The other issue that we've got, and one of the reasons that's impacting here, are a lot of high schools aren't focusing on accounting as a subject anymore. So we're not getting that taste early, which means why would anyone ever choose accounting if they haven't really done it before, or they did it for, you know, 6 weeks in a multidisciplined unit block or whatever the story is. I also think that the high school students that are getting exposed to accounting, I'm seeing like lots of friends with kids in that demographic that are using like MYOB desktop. And I just, that drives me nuts, because I'm like, that's not even something we do anymore.
And that's clearly not going to help, because, you know, that's one thing that, you know, our younger generations are really quite passionate about, is technology. And it's not just technology for technology's sake. It is actually efficient and really high level, good working technology that has a purpose. So because they've grown up with all of that, they don't suffer any fools in the technology industry. You know, it's like, yeah, that's technology, but if it doesn't really work and it doesn't help me, well, I can't be bothered with it. So, you know, I think that's very important. Yeah, we'll look at the uni degree. Thank you, Tiffany. Tiffany's just commented that we're having a great conversation, and she's thanked us for that. So thank you, Tiffany. And if anybody wants to pop up any other comments, of course, you can do that, whether you're out in live streaming or, of course, here in the Clubhouse app. But I wanted to go back to the stories, Kylie. We've just seen something in the industry. I'm sure most of you are aware of the Ignition 50 top accounting women globally. Now, they all put in their stories, and we're starting to see on social media some of the stories that we're hearing. It's giving me goosebumps saying this, you know. So yes, we've done, or those women have done that as part of an award situation or a recognition situation. I do hope that, you know, we start to see those stories come out into the open social media or shared, you know, that it's not just part of that award situation, because that would make a huge difference too, I would say, Kylie, wouldn't you?
Oh, 100%. And like, I'm guilty of it. The first time I really sat down and thought about my story was through an awards application. And shout out to all the Australians on that top 50 women in accounting list. It is a hard list. it's a tough list to make because it's
Yes.
global, right? So
Yes.
you look through the top 50, and I didn't actually count the number of Australians, but I think that it was definitely maybe 6 to 8 or something
Yes,
like
it
that.
was.
Like, it is a
Yes.
tough list
Yes.
to make. So shout out to my friends, my accounting friends that made that list. I'm really stoked for everyone. But like you, Linda, I love seeing those stories because we all have different journeys, and it's
Yes.
really about sharing that. Now, what we see is this tiny little snippet. You know, even if you go on and have a look at that top 50, you get like 1 to 2 sentences about each of these people.
Yes.
But what it does show is the depth of talent that we've got in this industry. And that's only the women's stories.
Exactly. There's a whole nother side to this. And then there's all of the people that didn't enter those awards, or are not necessarily, or did enter the awards and didn't make the top 50. You know, there would have been a lot of that. So, you know, I think it's important. And a lot of us think, well, I'm just doing my thing. Why I wouldn't be able to stand up against these, you know, award recipients. You know, I'm just doing me. But doing you is important, you know, and I have to admit, again, I'm guilty of this too. It's been a long personal journey for me to be able to stand up on stage, do things like this, and actually tell my story and just be comfortable enough in my skin, or confident enough. And it's confident enough to lean into the fear. I tell you what, it scares the pants off me every single day. But I do it because I know that I'm sharing and hopefully getting a message out there. So I think it's just so important that we all can do just a little bit of this in our own way. And going back, I can't reiterate enough, let's just look at some of the impacts we're making. Don't take them for granted. Don't underestimate them. If the only thing that comes out of this is you feeling a little bit better about yourself, and maybe not so overwhelmed with your daily grind or whatever that looks like, then that's a great thing too. But if you're sharing it with a team member, sharing it with family members, sharing it with children, that's a great way for us to start to sail through these tough times.
Linda, can I just shift the conversation a little to how we're going to manage this in this interim time when there's not a lot of early career accountants applying for our, you know, undergrad or grad roles? I think we really need to assess where public practice is at compared to where the rest of the world is at. As far as technology, innovation, education, training, we know that traditionally, and it's a real thing, right? Like, accountants are slow to the uptake, so to speak, which is a funny thing, but I think it comes partly from personality, and it's certainly a generalization. But, you know, we're stuck in our ways. Some people are still doing the same things that they did 20 years ago, because why would they change? And you know what? If the clients are accepting and happy and paying, why would you change, you know, if you don't want to? I do understand that. But we need to realize the impact that has on our profession as a whole. So we live in a world, and you said the next generation, or this, you know, the latest generation, are addicted to their phones. So I want to use mobile phones as a great example. When I started, and I'm no doubt the same as you, Linda, you didn't carry a mobile phone, right? Like, seriously. Hopefully young people didn't just switch off because they don't understand that, but that's a real thing. And then when mobile phones came about, it was like, well, you can't possibly have your mobile phone. It's too distracting. You're at work.
Put it in the drawer. So, you weren't allowed to use it. Yes.
Absolutely. And there are still firms that follow that way. However, we know we need your mobile phone for MyGov and authentication and that sort of thing. Some firms have gotten around it through work devices, but on the whole, that's a thing. So you can't really be without your phone these days. That is one example of the drastic shift of, you know, when you got an early career accountant 20 years ago and you're getting an early career accountant now. My point is, we need to realize what's going on in the real world. What are the kinds of people that we want to attract, and not try and make a round peg, into a square hole. And I think that is potentially what we're doing. And what's happening is those early career accountants are going, that's how I'm going to have to be.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
No.
Just
and I don't stay there. Yeah, I get in this in 6 months, 12 months, like, don't want to do that. I'm going to move on. Absolutely. So again, one of the big points that I want to bring home is to be open to change. And one of the great things while I was looking at stuff that I saw, one of the great initiatives was something called reverse mentoring. And what that was instead of the old teaching the young teaching the old. So, you're almost getting Gen Z consultants around, well, not necessarily, or talking to your children or those younger people around you. What are these words that I'm not understanding? What's important to you? All of these different things that we can actually learn from them. So I think this change in mindset that it's only the old and the experienced that know stuff, well, maybe not. So I think we can look at that as something, and we need to actually listen and be open to the change. This is not just listening because someone told me I had to, and this is the thing I need to do. We really need to take it on board on what they're saying, because they're looking. Another little stat that came up in my research was that the Gen Z, okay, so those are the ones, where were they born? 1997 to 2012, are the most entrepreneurial generation that we've seen in a long time. I think it's 62% of them will have either have planned for or will have started a business by the time they're 25. So if we, we relate that back to what we do every single day in accounting, it's all about business. So they're going to know some stuff. They're interested in it. So let's put some kindling underneath them and to help them get excited about that, because that's what's going to help attract them to our industry.
Yeah, we're selling our profession the wrong way.
Yes.
But on the flip side, that's another reason why we're not having these early career accountants anymore. The startup costs of entering or starting up your own accounting firm are basically zero.
Yes.
Gone are the days where you'd have to buy in, you'd buy clients, or you'd buy a partner's share, and that's how you'd get in, because there were so many barriers like software and staff and blah blah blah. Now literally you can work out of your handbag, as Heather Smith likes to say. But you can work, she's been doing it forever.
Yes.
But you can really run a full accounting firm from your laptop, which you can just carry around with you, and many people do. There's low overheads. The entry is easy. Really, to get that public practice certificate from any of your professional bodies is not as difficult as it used to be. There's definitely been some improvements there, and we're seeing that the average age of public practice firm owner has significantly decreased, particularly over the last 3 years. I could not find a specific stat on that, but I'll give that from just my personal experience of dealing with other professionals who run and own their own firms, and going and meeting with these people, and they're doing great.
Yes.
It's a great thing.
Absolutely.
But for more traditional firms that are relying on early career accountants to come through, well, not only are there less people coming through, but some of the people that are coming through are working inside industries or even in public practice for a very short period of time, and then going and starting their own.
Yes. And I suppose the reality of the situation is, when we see these early career accountants, come into our businesses, Kylie, it's finding that balance between, yes, we do need them to understand debits and credits and, some of that basic stuff that maybe they've not had quite so much training or, experience with from their uni degrees. They've had other experience. So I think we've got to adjust there as to how we train them and give them a balance, and not just throw our hands in the air and go, oh my gosh, you don't even know what a debit and credit is. So I think we've got to look internally a little bit around how that works for us, because this is the talent pool that we're drawing from. So it's open to that balance between the two, because we've still got to get our work done. That's
we still have to get our work done.
Yes.
Look, I think it's about reframing our staffing structure. Traditionally, those early career accountants, they'd come in, they do more of the grunt, repetitive work. We assumed they knew nothing and we'd have to teach them from scratch. What's actually happening with that generation, or people that are coming from sideways industries and coming into public practice in that early career role, is they come with a lot of skills and talents that certainly we haven't seen before. They're coming with, let's take some sort of traditional experience of high school, university, and they come straight from there. Look, they have so much tech knowledge. Innovation, the word innovation to them doesn't exist so much because it's a natural thing that they do every single day. It's very difficult to force those people into a role where it's like, well, that's how we've always done it and that's how you need to do it. So we need to really shine a spotlight on what they do bring to the role rather than what they don't know. And obviously that goes with all staff and all levels, but particularly we need to make these people feel valued, because what we aren't seeing, or what we haven't really touched on, is the psych side of things. Traditionally people would come through, or historically people would come through, they'd be frightened little bunnies because it's their first job and they didn't know what the go was. And that's just not how people are these days. They come in, they're quite more confident than ever. Which is great from a client point of view, as long as you can teach them not to overstep the line and, have a guess. They have to be sure of what they're saying. But that confidence, they come with skills that you actually can't teach. And I just want everyone to stop and think about what that value is. You cannot actually teach confidence very easily. Some people will never be able to do what some of these early career people walk in and do on their first day. I think people take it as a little bit of disrespect. And that's another, sort of
mindset shift,
a cultural generation.
We need to have that again, mindset shift, because it's not serving us. Again, it's simply just not helping.
Exactly. They don't focus on time. They focus more on output. Now, let's not get into the whole timesheet debate, but let's talk about that from a practical viewpoint of getting to the office by 9 a.m, let's say. People are like, oh, it's just a couple of minutes late, or whatever the story is, no big deal because I'm getting all my work done. But for somebody that's worked in the industry for a long time and has had staff for a long time and is quite stickly about time, because that's what we do, we sell time, let's be honest, that few minutes late every single day might be that, tipping edge of, hey, this person isn't right for us. So we do need to reframe. We do need to really reassess what we actually want and expect from that person. And is what we want right.
Yes, exactly. And I want to go back to what you said about looking at our staffing structure and our organisational structure, because this is, again, I can hear things going off. It's like, well, these are all great things, Kylie and Linda, but, where on earth do I find the time to do all of this? And so it's a reframe of the roles that either we undertake as business owners or leaders in accounting in our businesses, or some of our more senior people perhaps undertake. It's across the board. So, and I know we speak about this in relation to a whole lot of topics, that we do need to reframe as business owners where we're spending our time. And it's something that, every single coaching client of mine goes through. I guarantee it, that reframing, that repurposing of where my value is, so taking us from that real technician role to where I can easily see I did this many hours, I've done this many billable hours, I can see my write-offs, all of that, very measured output, to wait, I'm mentoring my team, I'm spending time with them talking about career, I'm sitting down talking to my young career accountants, listening to their ideas, and, bringing in all these new initiatives. That's, so much, you can't measure that quite the same way. You can certainly see it in the impact of, culturally, and of course then through client service, I think as well, absolutely, very important. But it's a different scenario. So I think we've got to think about that as well, is moving out of those more solid technician roles and into doing this mentoring, this leadership. So I talk a lot about leadership. What does that mean, and reframing what that actually looks like from our business perspective if we're going to make it through some of these tough years ahead. And there's, like you said, there's going to be tough years. This is not going to turn around in 12 months.
So let's take a practical application approach to this.
Yes.
Really, and there's this massive thing, and it drives me nuts. And Linda, you work in this advisory space, so
yes.
you know this. But there's this, and I think we disagree on this actually, but I'll say it anyway.
Okay.
There's this misconception that only people with a lot of experience can do advisory work, where when you look at these early career accountants, they're the ones that will talk to anybody underwater.
Yes.
They'll really listen. They're eager to learn. They're like sponges but they're only in that way if it's something that interests them, right?
Correct.
Which is fun.
Yes.
There's people in public practice that don't want to do advisory. They don't want to talk to clients. They just want to get the work done accurately, well, great result, fantastic. Exactly. But who's actually going to explain that to the client?
Yes.
We really need to, when I talk about staffing restructure or, who does what or whatever the story is, I always encourage people to think about the role and not the person. What do we need this role to be? What do we need this role to be? And, traditionally we've gone, right, there's the partner or the director, there's managers, then there's seniors, work down.
Mm-hmm.
If we take away all of those titles and just talk about what roles people need to have, you still end up with some sort of leadership hierarchy.
You do.
But then when you get a person that comes in, you can really look at what skills and strengths they bring and where that might fit into some of these roles.
Yes.
So you can actually have some of your early career accounting doing some work that previously, 5 years ago, you might have only trusted to a senior to have that conversation. But by putting some really good boundaries in place about this is your space and this is where you need to live, but you can talk to clients and have this, it gives them that fun part of the job. And it also takes some time away from some of your other staff that you might be paying more to with a higher hourly rate. There's all of these opportunities that arise. So I think that if you are lucky enough to have an early career accountant in your firm, make sure you look at both the roles that you've got in your firm, but also the people that you've got. Again, don't try and put a round peg into a square hole or vice versa. It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. It only ends up, lose for all parties involved. So yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to give myself a little plug here, Kylie, around speaking with clients and advisory, and in that space, if you've got a real solid process around how you do that in your firm, then almost anyone can do that, and all of the firm can participate at somewhere along in that process. So that's what I do. So you're interested in knowing more, let me know. But I do think I will counter that. I have said in the past that I think it takes about 5 years of general business knowledge for us to be able to do the type of advisory that I talk about, which is business improvement advisory. And so why I say that is that, it's just those general nuts and bolts around business that I think we need to gain some experience in order to be able to help our clients. Now, I'll counter that with, if we've got these younger people coming with almost already business experience, they've got their own business, businesses happening on the side, they've got their own eBay shops and, online stores and all of that going on since they've been 16 years old. Well, clearly they've got some concept of business, and I know we talked before about early career accountants. That does not necessarily mean young. They may have come from other industries. So that 5-year rule goes out the window as well. So, I think, again, we've all just got to be flexible around what this looks like. But yeah, I think process is the key with that. Because again, it's going to take time for you to be able to train and give some boundaries around what can we say, what shouldn't we say, how do we help clients. So, having a process in place that somebody else has put together and tried and tested, certainly going to help. So I think that's important.
Let's just make sure that,
let's
just make sure that we're setting those people up for success, because
Correct.
there is such a shortage. Let's not be adding to, hey, where have they gone? Well, that they left of their own free will because it wasn't working out, or we terminated them because it wasn't working out. Let's really make sure that we're setting everyone up for success.
Correct. Yeah, it goes across the firm. Exactly. So I think what's important is that, again, during my reading, is that these generations are wanting to see their values and what they think are important reflected in our workplaces. So I think that it's important to understand a little bit around what's important to them, what are they looking for, and particularly with these, we've mentioned already one, which was about making an impact. That's very important, to be part of something that's bigger than themselves. Extremely important for both millennial and Gen Z. They definitely value tech and technology and how that impacts on how we work. So that's another very important thing. Health, inclusion, diversity are some other words that are really, really important. And my reading went into as far as diversity, not just in race and gender, but as far as identity and orientation goes. So, the use of pronouns that we've started to see. I don't know, there was a few years back that we're starting to see the pronouns or our preferred pronouns turning up on LinkedIn. And so I think this is important for us to be, not to discard that and go, oh, that's just a whole lot of polywaffle. It's not. It's actually important to our younger generation. So they also want to be, this sense of belonging, this sense of social justice or community. That's another important thing. So something I thought of just as I was going through this is like, being environmentally aware, using giving everybody a keep cup or something like that for their coffee, recycling, doing some of these small things, but making a little point of it, and actually highlighting that. Again, I think we're just too easy to go, no, I've got to get my work done, I need to focus on that. I'm not actually highlighting some of these little things that you probably are already doing, making a bit of a point of them. So, what else do they want to see? Social connection, social media. Another really important thing. I struggle with social media. It's not something, and I don't have to do anything. I do it for, obviously to help me in my career and my business. But I personally struggle with that. So where we've got this younger generation who have just lived with that and it's part of their being, well, why aren't we encouraging them to post on our pages, show what they're doing at work during the day, or a couple of snaps here and there? That's going to be great. Mental health awareness, another really important thing, work-life balance for them. So you'll start to see, again, this, Kylie, you were mentioning about turning up 5 minutes late, or, starting at 9 and finishing at 5, and they're out the door right on 5. Our generation didn't, or not all of our generation, but I certainly didn't do that. I was there early and I stayed a bit later, and I often worked through lunchtime. That doesn't cut it with this generation. They are very much about balancing. We will agree to what we did. My work hours are this, so I will do those. So this almost implied expectation that you do more, they will buck against that.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And even seeing other people work more than that is not anything for that generation other than I don't think this is the right place for me, because I'm not going to do that.
That was almost a hero status for us, wasn't it? It's like, oh, look at them, how much they're going to work. Yeah, exactly. That's not going to work now either. No, correct.
No, it won't. And it's not to say this next generation is not afraid of hard work. I think sometimes that is a label that gets stuck on them. I'll share a personal example. I am a big fan of people just doing the hours that they want, unless they do something silly and need to sort that out. But at this time of the year, we're stuck into due dates. We're about to launch tax planning. There's all these things happening. And I have said to my entire team, hey, I'm a big fan of just working in normal hours, but if there's ever a time of the year where we need to make stuff happen, it's now. And that means that from time to time, there's going to be additional hours, and that time is probably now. So apologies for that, but you know that happens, and I just want to give you a heads up. I didn't get any back at all.
No.
Yeah, people are pretty good.
And I think too, that's the thing. If when I'm talking with my clients too, I don't like the term work-life balance, because I think there's, as we know in business, there are times that you just have to put in some extra work. Yes, a lot of the time. But I like to talk about it like a work-life flow. And so sometimes, the flow of business will be higher, and sometimes the flow of life will be higher, and just navigating your way through that. So I think if you can see it as a flow rather than a balance, because is there ever really balance? I don't know. But that concept of a flow seems to sit well with certainly a lot of my clients. So I think that's a good thing. So goodness me, Kylie, we've managed to talk already 50 minutes into this. So it's been a great conversation. I've loved this conversation. And there's thank you, Vic, for the comment that it's been very informative as well. So thank you very much. We're very pleased that people are out there listening to us. But I suppose to sort of summarize and to get to the tin tacks of what can we do here. So I think the important thing is that our early career accountants, whether they're young or they're coming from other industries, they are looking for some different things within the workplace these days, and they're looking for their beliefs and what they hold very true to themselves to be reflected in that. So those things that we were just talking about, some non-traditional benefits as well. I think pet insurance popped up somewhere. It used to be the gym membership or the health insurance. Pet insurance was one. And apparently free food is the bee's knees. So, doing lunches or things like that, that's really quite highly valued. But social awareness, social consciousness, environmental diversity, very, very important. Go have a look at some of that for yourself. And one thing I noted too, I have to admit, my frame of reference around what I'm seeing our accounting bodies post, particularly CPA Australia. I'm a CPA member and involved with CPA quite a lot. And so looking at their posts now with this reframing of this conversation has been really quite enlightening for me, because I'm seeing they're posting a lot about tech. They're posting a lot about social awareness. Clearly, they're on social media a lot for a very good reason. They're talking about the future of accounting, the impacts that we make. So whilst I might look at that and go, ho hum, that's, all great, I tell you what, there's a whole nother generation out there looking at it going, oh, well, that might be a bit interesting for me. So kudos to CPA Australia, well done. And I think that, we can all play a little part in that. So I love starting at home, Kylie. That was the best tip ever, I think, from today.
Yeah, and I think that, we've really covered a lot, Linda. But I think if we realise that this skill shortage problem is not going to go away quickly, we can implement some of these tips and things that we've talked about, shift our mindset, and it will just help us really better manage this situation that we've got and set everyone up for a long-term future success.
Absolutely. And we're all in it. I think that's the thing. It's we can all do our own little part with this, even in just the smallest of ways. And, this is not beyond us. This will pass, and, we can all take a positive approach to it, I think, and just do our little bit. So go accounting industry and go public practice accountants. We've got this. Okay. So what are we talking about next month, Kylie? Well, everyone's waiting with bated breath, I'm sure. So next month, 7th of June, holy moly, June, we're chatting about how to handle tricky conversations with clients. And no doubt we have them all throughout the year, but there's probably quite a lot happening around this time of year if you're out there doing any type of tax planning or, advisory work right now. Kylie, I saw an eye roll.
The conversation, the conversations that I'm going to have in tax planning this year are going to be some fun ones. So I'll come with lots of tips and tricks and experience.
Excellent.
Next
All
month.
right. You heard that
Yeah.
here, everyone. Do not miss it. Kylie will be full of tips and tricks next month about how to handle
Can learn
these
from
tricky
my experiences.
I've got plenty of them too. So yes. And look, you know, even what we're doing here, tuning into this sort of stuff, listening, opening, being open to change and conversation and collaboration and all of that. It's a wonderful thing. It's an hour a month, you know, join in, share it with your accounting colleagues, with your teams, because it can only help to just be talking about this as well. So thank you, everyone, for joining in this morning. We hope you have a wonderful day and a great month. We will be here next month. Kylie Baxter, thank you as always.
Thank you, Linda. You do a fabulous job. See you next time.
See you next time, everyone.
Bye.